If you're ready to unlock more better days, to take control of your health, to push past your limits and unleash your full potential, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Dr. Jeremy Bettel. For over 2 decades, I've worked with elite athletes and high performers, helping them optimize their bodies, strengthen their minds, and recover from setbacks. Now I'm bringing that expertise to you through the Vitality Collective podcast. In each episode, we'll dive deep into the science, strategies, and real-world solutions you can apply right away. Whether it's enhancing your physical performance, avoiding or recovering from injury, sharpening your mental edge, or simply feeling your best every single day. With insights from top experts and thought leaders, this podcast is designed to help you take action, feel better, and live the life that you deserve. Welcome to the Vitality Collective podcast, where every day is vital. Today I'm joined by Kent Bray, a therapeutic counselor and mentor who specialises in working with high-achieving men and former professional athletes. Kent is a former Oxford Blue, a professional rugby player, and a Citibank director who nearly died from cocaine addiction before finding recovery 9.5 years ago. In this episode, we talk about the dangerous gap between external success and internal struggle, covering why high performers don't ask for help, how identity dissolves when achievement ends, and the specific steps that lead to genuine recovery. If you're somebody who's achieved everything you were supposed to, but still feels desperately unhappy, or you know somebody who's struggling behind a successful facade, then this conversation's for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Today, it is such a pleasure to welcome Kent Bray to the show. We're going to have a really human, open, honest conversation today about the struggles of high performers and the path out of those struggles. I think we've got an interesting shared history, parallel history, as it were. And when we connected a few weeks back, it was really clear this was going to be a powerful conversation. So, Ken, welcome.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, and look, thank you for giving me this platform to tell my story. I'm on here to help men out there who are struggling. So thank you for giving me the platform. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a real honor to have created this show for that purpose, you know, among others, is to help people navigate this complex world. And I think the world of men's mental health there's more people speaking about it now, but I think there's still a ton of stigma. I'd love our audience just to hear how you made your way to this work.
Yeah, so basically grew up in Australia and had what I would consider whatever normal is, but pretty normal upbringing. There was no alcoholism in the family, no drug addiction, there was no abuse, there was no criminality. There wasn't a lot of money. My mum and dad had a second-hand furniture store, and mum worked as a secretary at a medical insurance company, and I got heavily involved in sport. I absolutely love sport. It was the sort of making of me personality-wise. I was a very shy kid. And then once I started playing sport and I was good at sport, you know, you become popular, and it was great for my self-esteem and confidence, and I really grew. And sport became a very, very strong thread through my life. I studied. I left school and became a lawyer. So I studied for 6 years and became a lawyer, and I didn't like that. I realised that I was just people pleasing my parents, wanted to repay my parents because they had put 3 boys through private school at secondary school. They gifted us what they thought was the best gift they'd give us, which was education. And then I just went on this period of high achievement. I played for Australia under 21s at rugby, Queensland, New South Wales, went all around the world playing rugby. I got a scholarship to Oxford University. I'm an Oxford Blue, played in the varsity match. So I had my law degree from Queensland, and I got a diploma from Oxford, then went to Harlequins, big rugby club in London, was there for 6 years as a player and a coach, ended up in the city as a director of Citibank. I was a foreign exchange trader, earned some very good money, but I descended into cocaine addiction, and that's where the story for me takes a different route. I nearly died from cocaine use. I lost 5 stone, ended up in a rehab, and then in the last 9.5 years clean sober, and in that time I just got absolutely fascinated by the way that the body and the mind can heal and recover. and how I ended up going in a very fulfilling direction as a counsellor. I went and studied for 2.5 years.
Right.
And became a therapeutic counsellor and a mentor. Jumped on LinkedIn, thought I was going to be helping primarily people with addiction, alcoholism or substance abuse, and very surprisingly for me, I've ended up mentoring, guiding, counselling really successful businessmen all around the world in all sorts of walks of life. So that's one sort of profile of client that I'm attracting, and the other one is ex-professional sports people.
Right.
So they who were struggling to transition into whatever the real world is. I'm so grateful that I've ended up in this space. Very, very lucky man. Very lucky man.
Yeah, what a journey. There's a few pieces that I identify with and I'd really like to dig into. And the first one is the people pleasing. You know, as you're coming up, you get the education in private school, and then you follow that sort of natural, intuitive path that you think others want for you, right? How does that start shaping that early identity as you're going through that path? And I guess how early did you realize you didn't like it?
Yeah, I think what it goes back to, I think, is that I saw my mum and dad work hard, and they just kept on repeating, this is the education we didn't have.
Right.
You get this education, then you can go and get some sort of degree, then you can be a professional person and earn money and have a nice house and have a nice car. So they sort of presented this vision, which is largely true. Mm-hmm. But it's the message that was sent out and what was received was that I thought to myself, I believe them because they're your mum and dad. And then I thought, I'd seen how hard they'd worked, and I thought, I can't let them down. I don't want to let mum and dad down. We all grow up metaphorically within four walls, and the influences, conditioning and modelling that goes on in those four walls can really affect how you are and what journey your life takes. And that was my case. So there was this tone of be a professional person, get a degree. Yeah. And then money and security will come your way. And mum and dad were saying, you won't have to do what we do, which is work really hard for in a low paid job. So the people pleasing was, I just wanted to thank mum and dad for what they'd sacrificed and done for me and my two brothers. There's no criticism or judgment on my father. I love my father. But it's about understanding me. I want to understand me, why I am the way I am. So I'm a people pleaser, I'm a rescuer, I'm a saver. And that has been a common theme through my life. So the people pleasing was get the degree, but I was halfway through the degree and went, I don't like this at all. I hate it. Right. But I can't stop because there's no stopping in our family. You start something, you finish it. I was obligated to finish it and deliver this degree, not to me, but to my parents. So I got the degree, I practiced for 18 months, and then my elder brother, I rang him and I said, mate, I can't do this. I like people, I like being in groups. As a child, I really liked team sports. I loved the camaraderie, I loved the togetherness, and that's a theme of my life. And as a lawyer, sitting in an office by myself, surrounded by books. So it's like, can't be doing this.
And I imagine as you're going through school and you're starting to not enjoy it, you've been sold that it's the key to happiness. So is there an element of what's wrong with me? This is supposed to be the thing that people do and enjoy and makes them happy.
It didn't happen at university. When that happened was when I was sitting in rehab. I was sitting in rehab and I was 52 years old. So I'm 85 kilograms. Oh, you guys talk in pounds, don't you? So I went into rehab at 140 pounds. Right. So I was normally about 200. Right. And I was literally saying that. I thought, hold on, this is not right. This is not right. I did what I was supposed to do. I did what I was told. I did what my parents told me to do, and I did what society told me to do, which society was go to university, get a degree, get a well-paid job, buy a house. I did it all. Tick, 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 tick. Invest in a pension scheme or a superannuation scheme. Make sure you got the back end of your life covered financially. I did everything. And yet I'm sitting in a rehab, a cocaine addict. And I thought,
Yeah.
something is completely and utterly wrong here. And I'm not obviously what was wrong was I was a cocaine addict. But beyond, that was a symptom. I'm looking at it, like looking at the big picture going, I did what everyone told me to do. I am supposed to be happy, but I am desperately, desperately unhappy. It's a very, very, pardon the pun, sobering experience when I realised that, the dream I was sold didn't eventuate. It didn't eventuate at that point.
I think many high performers, it's resonating with me. I was fortunate not to end up sitting in rehab, but certainly sitting in a hotel room by myself, crying in a dream scenario. And I think if we back up to, I'd like to chart that path a little bit. There's so much of it is the external validation piece,
Correct.
right? And so you've got the external validation from your parents that you're achieving what their dream was for you. Then you're a lawyer, outside world telling you what a great job you've done. And then even being unhappy with that and going into the city, great. You've got all of the external accolades from that. You've had the rugby career at the elite level of rugby. So everywhere you turn, there's a pat on the back when you tell people what you're up to, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that was the conflict in me going through my professional sports career and getting to that point of realizing, well, I've achieved all of the things, right? That arrival fallacy of I'll be happy when I achieve this next thing. And I kept getting there, and there kept being another thing further off in the distance that I'd go and chase after. So there's an
100%.
immense amount of conflict, isn't there, between the external validation and what you're feeling inside.
Yeah, what you said is exactly right. I now realise I was addicted to more. I wanted more of everything. And I think it started, to go back to the sport, when I started playing, I was a very, very shy child. When I started playing sport, got popular, and I was good at a number of sports. And you get, as you said, you get those pats on the back, call them strokes in counselling.
Yeah.
So you're getting these positive strokes. Man of the Match Awards or Most Valuable Player or whatever it was. I didn't want to be just good. I wanted to be the best.
Yeah.
And then, but I think one of the things about being the best is all that, as you say, that external validation and confirmation. I think I got addicted to adulation. But eventually what happened was, when I got into my 40s and life got difficult and I was in a job I didn't want to do and I was in a relationship I wanted to get out of and I was in a country I didn't want to do, I didn't have the ability to ask other people for help.
Yeah.
And that's when the real conflict started, because I get it done. I've got a history of getting it done.
Yeah.
So now that I'm struggling, and my first thing that I'll say to people watching this, if you're struggling, the biggest mistake I ever made was not putting my hand up and asking for help. But you're right. I was externally had this amazing profile. Internally, I was crushed. I was absolutely crushed in every measurement, physically, mentally, and spiritually. And I needed to find a way out, which thankfully I did.
It is a hard first step, isn't it? Because you keep getting this adulation and told how well you're doing. And you want to be that person, right? You don't want to burst that illusion of this is who I am. And it really becomes your identity. So it's hard. I was in therapy for a long time with a fabulous therapist. I found myself even trying to win at therapy and be like the star pupil, and intellectually I understood it all, but it was even trying to like impress my therapist and not really show any chinks, every now and then. But I turned it more into career counseling and kept a lot of stuff even from my therapist.
Yeah. When I was that I can resonate with that. I had a public profile, so I worked at Citibank, right? So Citibank, Canary Wharf, in the city in London. Canary Wharf's just, if you haven't been, there's loads of high end financial institutions, big glass buildings, only 20 years old and very modern, whatever. Second floor, and I was a director of the bank, and I was a senior foreign exchange trader. But everyone sort of knew. They go, Kent, KB, everyone called me KB, but said, he played for Harlequins, like he played with like Will Carling and these well-known rugby guys in the UK. And he went to Oxford and that. So I had this profile, and what I realised then at the end was I got addicted to cocaine, and I didn't use cocaine with anyone at Citibank, which sounds bizarre, but I went to all lengths. Yeah. All the secretiveness, the deceit, the dishonesty, the manipulation to protect that profile. I had to protect that profile at all costs. And the reason I had to protect the profile at all costs was because this is the profile, all those achievement things. The reality is I was a garden variety, generic cocaine addict, right? Yeah. This is very, very popular publicly and looks really good. I'm swimming in guilt, shame, remorse, embarrassment, self-loathing, self-pity. I can't let anyone see this. I can't let anyone see me. So the public profile had to be protected at all costs, hence the secrecy. My family didn't know. Only some very, very close mates knew. No one knew at work, which people find very, very hard to believe, because in the end, I was doing 20 to 30 grams of cocaine a week. I mean, it was costing me £80,000 a year. For those that don't know anything about cocaine, any of your listeners, viewers, 20 to 30 grams is like 30 to 40 bottles of wine a week. And that was at the end. And like, I'm not stupid. I'm not an unintelligent person, but all I'm talking about, the power of addiction. Once you get the addiction and someone who is struggling, and those two come together, it can be highly, highly, highly destructive dynamic. And that was the case with me.
So let's talk about that tipping point as you get into first starting to use cocaine. What are you feeling in your body at that time? Where were you? What was your role, and what was the inner landscape looking like?
Yeah, interesting when everything's 20/20 in hindsight. So I did not use cocaine when I was playing rugby. Okay, so I think that my desire to look after my body and to be the best possible player that I could be, mate, I didn't smoke. Yeah, I drank. I didn't smoke. I didn't do any drugs because they weren't aligned with my purpose. The Japanese thing, the ikigai, my purpose at the time, which was to play for Australia, to be the best rugby player I could. Once I retired and I didn't have that laser focus to be physically, mentally at the absolute optimum level every weekend and do everything I could during the week to get to that state. Once that disappeared, then it was like, I'll drink a bit more. I don't have to go to the gym as much. And funnily enough, in that time, a businessman who's still a good mate of mine today, he just sort of said to me one day, would you like a line of cocaine? And I said, I've never done coke before, and can I get addicted to this stuff? And he said, no, you'll be right. And so I had the line, and it was a really slow burner. I mean, the first year I hardly did any coke. But what is clear is, when I talk mental health, my mental health is around stress, anxiety, an inability, not an inability, but struggling to cope with what was going on at the time. I was under a lot of stress at work. My relationship was failing. Had 2 young kids. I say this to people today, I can never, ever, ever replace those moments when you're 5 minutes about to run onto a sports field.
Yeah.
And you're in that group, and there is every walk of life is normally represented in that group. Various religions, various levels of education, various cultures, various skin colours, all that sort of stuff. But in that moment, 5 minutes you go out, you're in your colours, and you're in a zone, and the zone is, I will not let you down. I promise you I'll not let you down. And you're there together, and you're so amped up, and then you run out, and big crowd, small crowd, or whatever, and you're ready for the fight. You're ready for it. I couldn't replicate that in business. And even though I got paid, there's some years I got paid, a couple of $1 million or something with a bonus or something like that. That gave me security, but it didn't give me that there was something missing in my soul later on in life, and I wasn't getting it filled. The work wasn't doing it for me. My relationship wasn't doing it for me. And what initially became a coping mechanism, just to do a line of cocaine, just then everything can just calm down, everything's okay. It actually became I needed the hit. I needed to, because I wasn't getting it from anywhere else.
And was it an avoidance of the sensations you were feeling? You mean, like anxiety for me, it's the most powerful sensation in my body that I feel like I do anything to get rid of it. Rather than sit with that. I find that incredibly difficult. So is that what started to develop and then become more of a dependency?
I didn't want the feeling. I didn't want to feel what I was feeling. So I was struggling. I don't handle failure very well. I don't handle it very well. And when I say I don't handle it very well, without being too egotistical, I didn't have a lot of it.
Yeah.
Right. So I was, I'm gonna rugby. So I went within one level of representing, the Wallabies, the Australian national rugby union team. I was just one level short. That's okay. I gave everything at it and just came up a little bit short. That's fine. Education, one of the best universities in the world, Oxford University. Banks, financial institutions, Citibank, world renowned, director of the bank. I hadn't anything I'd sort of set out to achieve. So when my life was struggling, I was struggling. I just thought I really don't. I can go really well when everything's going really well. That's me. I'm just on fire, and I just keep taking it to another level. When it just started to fall off a cliff, I was all at sea. I couldn't go to my father because I don't think he'd understand. I couldn't go to my mother because I didn't want to let my mum down. I didn't want to say, hey, mum, I'm a drug addict. I couldn't do that. There was a load of friends I couldn't go to. And this is one of the reasons I do what I do now, because there's a load of high achieving. Okay, I'm a man, so a lot of my clients are male, but I do work with females as well. But that male thing, there's guys out there like me, and I've seen your profile, that some of the stuff you've achieved in your life. There's guys like us that are out there. They've achieved a load of things. I thought that I was almost bulletproof. Like I thought, no matter what comes along, I'll be able to deal with it because I've done everything myself. The wealth I've accumulated by myself. The rugby career I made. Up in the city, I carved out a career. I. Right? The trouble with guys like, I don't know a lot about you, but I'd guess, is that once we get to a certain level, you just can't put your hand up and ask for help because of how you're going to be viewed.
I totally resonate with that. Absolutely. And there's a couple of things in there that I really identify with, and that's the identity, right? Your identity, the very fabric of who you are becomes your results. Did with me. Similarly, basically anything I put my mind to, I put the blinders on and was quite selfish in achieving that. Like I'm gonna be the best in the world at this. And it's a funny thing wanting to be the best in the world. It seems like a very virtuous thing to want, but it's almost a way of continuing to move the bar on yourself. Right? Because how do you know? Right? This isn't a really clear goal. It's not something you know when you've achieved it. It never ends because everybody else is improving behind you if you are the best. And that identity, when things go wrong, and I've had this moment in my career, and now you're not successful, it is devastating.
Horrendous.
And you are trapped.
Yeah.
Because you're still trying to convince yourself that you're that person as things are falling apart around you. And it's an awful place to be. That's when I was in my deepest states of depression, suicidal ideations, and really, really trapped. Really trapped. And that external achievement had really hidden this emotional exhaustion and this falling apart of my identity, because that the other thing is, people don't ask you if you need help because you look like you don't.
Yeah. I there was that business about your identity, and I'm working with a number of ex-rugby players now, and it is so obvious once we go through it with these ex-rugby players. They're professional rugby players here in England, and and a couple of them did play for England, but most of them didn't. But they were good, first team professional rugby players. And we go through it, right? So it works like this. A lot of guys get identified when they're young. Gee, this kid's got some talent. It could be basketball, could be NFL, could be whatever it is in the States, etc., or whatever sport around the world. And then everyone sort of gets invested, parents and siblings and whatever, and the coaches at school. And then you go, oh, this guy could get a scholarship, or he could play professional rugby or whatever it is. And you're just training and training and training. So there's this one vision. There's just this one goal. And everything, the whole direction of travel, the highway of travel, is just to get to this goal, right? Mm-hmm. And then what happens is, and I go through this with my clients and go, then you get to 30 years old, you don't get another contract, or you're having a career-ending injury, right? In that moment, that identity has left the building in a moment. So the identity that took 2 decades to get takes one phone call to prick the balloon, right? Yeah. Then the question is, where I got all at sea, and I think a lot of people do, ex-rugby players or people who leave the city, people who are at the financial, coalface every day, and there's adrenaline and it's all going on, and then it stops. So we take a rugby player, it takes him 20 years to form this identity. The identity goes in a phone call or in a day or in a moment. And then the next question is this: if I am not that person, then who am I? Mm-hmm. Who am I? And it is a void. It's a void. It's actually, I don't know.
It is a void, because it's not only the identity. That 20-year journey, because I was a member of the support staff, right? So I wasn't the guy on the camera, but what also goes is, every day of your life you've been told where to be, what to eat, what to wear, what your schedule is. It's never your own, right? You're just following the daily schedule. You've had playbooks dictated to you, like what to do at work, how to do it. You've been coached your whole life. It's your entire social network, right? Your camaraderie, your best mates, the people you've lived and died for, all of these things that are there. The media want to know you. There's adulation. All of that surrounding you, and then you get the phone call. So now not only does your identity fall apart, your entire social community forgets about you. Everything you've come to rely on, all the people that were or you thought were your mates, this whole community, suddenly your phone stops ringing.
Yeah.
So now there's this abject isolation on top of, who the hell am I? I don't have hobbies, right? I've given my entire life to this thing.
Yeah. And a lot of these guys are leaning into a coping mechanism, and the first coping mechanism most people go to is alcohol, because it's just readily available, it's socially acceptable. And so the number of my clients would have noted that there's an increased level of alcohol intake. And it's just a coping mechanism. And then, of course, those that, when you've got young people who are getting together, like whether it's a sporting event, a bar, a restaurant, a party, where you've got young people where there's an energy, where there's disposable money, there's going to be cocaine. When there's disposable cash, there's cocaine. They're just all the moving parts which lead to, the accessibility of cocaine. So now guys, they've got a level of income where they can buy coke, and during their rugby careers they may have not done it at all. They might have done very little. Why? Because they're just totally focused on their purpose.
Yeah.
They're not going to put that dream at risk. But what happened to me was, as soon as the purpose and the focus is gone, and we're starting to look at other things, going, I'm going out and having a few drinks, I'm 4 or 5 beers in, and someone says, do you want a line of coke? Well, you're more inclined to do it than when you're playing, you're 4 or 5 beers in, someone wants to say, do you want a line of coke? Yeah, no, mate, no. I'm a rugby player. What are you talking about? That's not me at all.
Right.
And then once you've got these coping mechanisms where I don't know who I am, I'm struggling in a new world, I've got this new job, I'm struggling with this, then the risk that you're going to really lean into more alcohol and cocaine or gambling, all the vices are on the table. Yeah. And that's where I step in. And very fortunately, for me and my clients, it's going really well. It's going really well because I can identify and relate to what they're going through.
So if we look at a more preventative model here, Ken, first signs. Like, when do you wish you had approached someone like yourself to say, hey, look, I think I'm starting to struggle here. I think I might be going on down the wrong path.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's some people who'll they'll never try drugs. There's a lot of guys who don't do drugs, don't do drink. They manage
drugs was never my thing.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Deep depression and suicidal ideation was my thing. So that's the path we're trying to keep people off ultimately.
Yeah.
Right? Because that does not have a great outcome as that plays through.
That's a good point. Let's expand it from not just drinking drugs. Let's talk about mental health, everything. I knew I was coming off the rails. I knew that I wasn't myself. And so the answer was to get professional help early. It's like anything, an illness, a disease or something, anything that's caught early and can be managed. That brings in the issue about men not wanting to put their hand up. Look, this issue goes around in society every day, all the time, about men not putting their hands up. And so hopefully the likes of you and I getting on these podcasts, talking openly and honestly, will get them to just, circumvent the whole process by getting help early. 80% of my clients don't have any issues with drink or drugs. They might have imposter syndrome or some sort of grief or something going on. But those that have either mental health issues or drink or drugs, it's about understanding and awareness of me, of what's going on for me. So once I'm aware that I do have anxiety, in your case anxiety, or I'm leaning into drink and drugs a bit too much, the question is why? What is going on? The only way that I found out what was going on for me and understanding the why was to actually go and seek professional help. And when I went and sought professional help, oh man, it just opened up. I got an education that I just had never had in my life. So when I went and studied, the first 6 months I did psychology, did this 2.5 year therapeutic counselling course. But the first 6 months was about psychology. I just loved it all about understanding my ego states, all understanding about life scripts, core beliefs, stuff that I've been tied to my whole life, threads, patterns, all this sort of stuff. When I saw all that stuff, I was like, oh my God, this now makes so much sense. But you'll only get that education if you go and speak to a professional person.
I think we can say that, and that is the benefit of having us on this show today and others doing the same, is we've been through it, and we know that once we told someone, we weren't mocked, we weren't ridiculed. For me, there was a very clear moment. I was very lucky. I'd hired a guy who was just retired out of the Navy SEALs. He was a 27-year Navy SEAL commander. And I had hired him to come in and be a mentor for the players, and everyone else. He's a seasoned military commander. And, he had seen just about everything in his career. He'd seen colleagues go through depression and, all the way through, to actually committing suicide. And the moment for me, I had known something was really wrong. But he took me out for dinner one night when we were on a road trip. And he sat me down and he said, "Hey, look, I just want you to promise me if you're going to kill yourself, give me a call. Let's just make a pact that you're going to call me first." And it's like,
Wow.
mate, one of those moments that you just like,
He
wow,
saw.
this really
he,
isn't what, yeah,
he saw. He saw. Isn't
yeah.
that wow?
And I was in therapy.
What great intuition! Wow.
And how lucky that he spoke up.
Yeah.
So you get those moments when, you're out of moves, right? For me, it was like my coping mechanism was like more achievement. I can achieve my way out of this. I'll go over here and be impressive, right? I'll go present at this conference. I'll win at therapy, right? In talking to my therapist, it was about how do I be sort of magnanimous in this situation where I'm being like forced into failure, you're really getting pushed out of an organization. And how do I see what was my responsibility and how do I do this? So I'm now like I'm a super impressive guy to my therapist, And so and then that moment you're like, okay, I achieved it all. And now something has to change.
Yeah, that's very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. What a powerful moment. We know we've got to change inside and we may speak to someone or an event might happen. When I left Citibank, there's this business partner and myself and we ended up buying 100 London black cabs, which we rented out, right? COVID killed the company, unfortunately, which is a bit of a bummer. That cost me a bit of money. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm off my head on cocaine. I'd left Citibank, and between Citibank and going to rehab, there was this 2-year period, and I'd set up this company with this bloke. And it was just money coming in, and I was just going to this garage where we ran this premises where we ran these cabs out. So basically, it works like this: 100 London black cabs, we rent them out. So once a week, the cab comes in, they pay us the money that they're renting, a couple £100 a week or whatever. We check over the cab, make sure it's okay, and they leave. So we've got this premises, and literally I'm going in there every day just to use cocaine, really. That's what I'm doing. I know nothing about the cab business. I put up the money. My business partner's running it. At the end of the day, to go home, I just take one of the old cabs, right? The old ones are 15 years old, and they're called breakers. And the reason they're called breakers is back then, a cab had a 15-year life and then it had to be taken off the road as a cab, but it could be used as a domestic vehicle for 1 year. Right. So in that 1 year, then it had to be broken up. So I had to go along these 3 highways, right, to go home. I had to go A13, M25, A127. Mate, M25 is like Grand Prix. It is like this. At that stage, I'm telling you, every piece of that cab has been replaced, right? The speed limit here, 70 miles an hour, I am off my head on cocaine, right? And I'm on the inside lane, 3-lane highway, I'm on the inside, going 50, because once I go to 55, it just starts shaking. I'm paranoid that I'm going to have an accident, kill me, kill someone else, get picked up by the police. So I'm going along, I've got eyes like dinner plates, I'm looking at the rear vision mirrors because I've got paranoia. Then there'll be a car going up on the side of me and I'm going, it's police. It's police. I'm done. And I'm freaking out. Mate, next minute, and I knew this when I drove off, I thought, geez, it's dark, there's a lot of big clouds. Next minute, it absolutely, right? Mate, the old London black cabs, the windscreen wipers were like 2 toothbrushes. They were that old. So now I'm like, Like, zoom, zoom, M25, Formula One. Now it's chucking down. Mate, the windscreen wipers stop, right? So now I'm in this car, and now I'm amped. I'm going, talk about more. Each level I'm going up and up and up. I think it's all blurry, and all I'm doing is concentrating on the brake lights of the car in front of me. And I thought, oh, I'll stick my head out the window. It might be a bit better. But I stick my head out. Mate, I thought I was at a paintballing show because all these drops were so heavy. So I come inside, now I'm drenched, windows up, just the wipers aren't working, concentrating. And next minute, a motorbike comes along the side of the car, and I'm going like, what now? He says, wind down your window. He says, mate, you've got no back lights, right? So I'm thinking, all I've got to do, I need to get off here, I need to do more cocaine. I'm panicking, I need to do cocaine. So putting the fire out with gasoline. Anyway, where I'm going to with this is, I went home that night and went, this has got to stop. Yeah. This is now absolutely, like, this is now ridiculous. It's crazy. Like, I'd done some stupid things using, but that night, it wasn't the end of my using, but it was certainly pointing me in a direction where this had to stop. So you were talking about that guy saying something to you. We get awareness from something, whether someone says something to you or you have an event. And the other thing that really resonated with what you said, when I went to rehab, I felt like I was in a corner with no moves. There was nothing left. And I had to be taken out of society. I went into rehab. I had 6 weeks in rehab. I came out. I relapsed after 8 days. I ended up in a hotel room, and I was doing industrial amounts of cocaine. And I didn't know whether I was trying to kill myself or it was the last hurrah. I don't know. But then one night I went to the toilet. It was 3:22 a.m. on the clock on the TV. And I just thought, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, oh, my whole life has come down to one decision. Mm-hmm. And the decision I have to make is I'm either going to use cocaine again and die, or I've really got to give recovery a go. Yeah. And that was on the 17th of June 2016. Next day, the 18th of June 2016, was my first clean and sober day. And my truth is, I've not had a sip of alcohol or a sniff of cocaine since then, so 9.5 years. Wow. Congratulations. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. And I'm so grateful. And the gift the number of gifts have been given to me, not least of all being a really good dad to the best of my ability. But secondly, I've just landed in this space where, I had 2 clients this morning and they're going really well. And I just got off and I was just so amped up. I just sort of thought, can't believe I've ended up in this space. Just to give back and help as a result, like, all your experiences, yours, all the winning and all the sports stuff and all the achievement, and then all the challenges and the dark place, that intellectual property is very, very valuable. And if that can be harnessed, right, and then just put out into the universe to the appropriate recipient, my experience is that can be very, very powerful education for someone. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, and I think, for our listeners, it's interesting to me that you noted that was the moment, that night in the cab was sort of the crack in this whole thing. And okay, something's got to change. And for me, it was that one conversation. It's the start of the process, isn't it? Correct. It's not like it's like, okay, it's a clean break. It's a very difficult process too. Yeah. We can make it sound a bit easy in hindsight, but for me, it took another 2+ years to be ready to get out of sport and out of that environment. And then there was a real dissolution of my identity going through that period of leaving sport. It's like an athlete retiring, really. You lose all of that. And I went through, for me, it was psychedelic medicine, going through a journey with plant medicine and really trying to get to the root of it. That was a fabulous tool for me. But then the most powerful thing I did was I went on a men's retreat with my friend Craig White.
Yeah, I know of Craig, yeah.
Yeah, and it was going into that forum with a group of 12 or 14 high performing men and speaking some of these things out loud that I'd been burying, and not being judged, being embraced, being in that safe container. For me, finding real community and support without the shell of being a high achiever,
Yeah.
right? That was put to the side for this thing. We were all just men going in with all sorts of different backgrounds.
So I can identify and relate to there was Narcotics Anonymous saved my life.
Yeah.
So I'll just put it out there. So I didn't want to go to Narcotics Anonymous. I didn't want to go to any of the fellowships because I thought it was an admission of failure, that I was a loser. I'd failed, and I remember sitting in an early meeting thinking, my God, like this is where I've ended up. But the reality was, as you rightly said, it's one thing to have an event. It's one thing to have a spiritual awakening that this has got to stop. I've got to go in a new direction. But the action is the hard part. The action. You can have the epiphany. You can have the moment, but then the work begins. So going through it, you went away with Craig, and I've done some men's retreats of a similar nature, and being open and honest. To some extent, they are pretty much what happens in the fellowships. So Narcotics Anonymous, mate, they didn't care if I was the director of a bank. They didn't care less. They didn't care about my rugby. They cared how much I wanted to get clean and sober. That's all they cared about. And they said, if you want to do this, we're here for you, and we'll guide you through. So I've got a mentor, a sponsor, as they call them in the fellowships. I went through the 12-step program. I've been through it 3 times. It's an amazing program. Everyone on the planet would benefit by going through a 12-step program. But going back to what you're saying, that was my community. That's where I got held. That's where I could speak openly, honestly, no judgment. I was held and I was safe. And basically, I felt when I went in there, they sort of said, look, we're going to love you and hold you until such time as you can love and hold yourself. And that may take a few months, it might take a year or whatever. And that's exactly what happened. The opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
So you mentioned community. So my support group, I'm never alone, ever. I'm never alone ever again. If I've got something going on for me, there will be my sponsor or my girlfriend's in recovery or other people in recovery or my brother or my mate. But what I don't do today is I don't isolate. And if I've got an issue or problem, I speak to my support group, and community is absolutely key, 100%.
Yeah, we've kept this group going. That was year and a half ago, a little more now, and we meet every 3 weeks. And the other thing was really sitting down with Keith, who'd been my longtime therapist and really guided me through my career, and really being honest with him, I think for the first time. Like there was a surface level of honesty, there was a superficial honesty, but really those conversations we'd had on the retreat, letting him see it all for the first time. And his helping, guiding me through those, I'd say really it's the last 2-3 years since getting out of sport that he's really got to see me. And that's been the most liberating thing, is having this community of men who are peers and that we sit and talk to, but having a genuine relationship, a therapeutic relationship with someone who's deeply expert, who can guide you, because they can only help you with what you'll as far as you're willing to go. And it's hard, and being that vulnerable is hard, but the other side of it is so gratifying and rewarding, and you get to know who you are.
I love just being, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Yes, I used to be a drug addict. Yes, I used to do this. Yes, I did that. Today, I'm truthful, honest, genuine, authentic, transparent, compassionate, sympathetic, empathy, to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
All right? And I've got no secrets. And just to be seen, you said You get seen by a therapist now. He sees you, and people see me now, and what they see is just an organic, real person. But, I've been knocked around a bit by life. I lost a brother when I was 16. I had a brother who was 18. That knocked me, that for 6. That was bad news. It was hard to deal with that. I lost a really good mate at 30. I've had the addiction. I've had divorce. Obviously, there's been quite a financial reset. I don't regret any of it because I need all of that to be the person I am today. I had to go through all of that to be the person I am today. And this is the happiest I've ever been with myself. Yeah. The person I am these days, because I'm just truthful and honest. It's been an amazing journey. The healing and recovery in particular has been absolutely amazing.
And Ken, like, what were the tools that got you there? We've talked about community. Are there tools that people can start leaning into to help them move along to where you and I are today?
Yeah, I think the one word you said there before is vulnerability. You've got to be, there is definitely a degree of bravery and courage that's needed because, look, effectively, I had to spotlight and process, the darker sides of me. Mm-hmm. And so it's really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable when I've got a vision of myself, which I display publicly. But I have to look at, first of all, I had to look at, what I was doing and the destructive nature of what I was doing. Then I had to look at, is there any cues from my upbringing, not from a point of blaming anyone or being critical of anyone or judgmental of anyone, but understanding why I am the way I am. So we go back to honesty. I had to be really, really honest. Sure. But what I would say is that the key to the door of all of this is being open and honest and truthful to yourself.
Right.
That's where it starts. Right. The day that I put my hand up and said, my name is Kent and I'm an addict, was probably at that point one of the most truthful days I ever had in my life, and to declare it publicly. Look, I had to sit down with my father. My father's 90. When he was 85, I was about 4 years clean and sober. I said to my brother, I'm coming home to Australia for a holiday. I'm going to tell Dad all about my story. And he said, mate, Dad's 85. He doesn't need to know your story. You're good today. Why tell him? I said, because I want him to see me. I want him to know his son. I want him to know everything about his own son, just like I would like to know everything about my own son. So the first tool, the first skill, the first step on the way to liberation and honesty is awareness. What's the awareness? I'm doing a lot of drugs. What's the acceptance? The acceptance is I'm a drug addict. What is the solution? Seek a solution. Okay, seek a solution. I'm going to go to rehab. I'm going to get a therapist. And the last part, the fourth part, is the most crucial. It's into action. Into action. You've got to action. I had to go to meetings. I had to get a sponsor. I had to go through the 12 steps. I had to go back to the gym. I had to get back into fitness. I had to educate myself around addictions.
Yeah.
So those four things: awareness, acceptance, dissolution, into action. But it's all under the umbrella of honesty and truthfulness.
Yeah, the action piece really, for me, of all the tools, people can get into plant medicine, they can get into AA, they can see a therapist, they can do all of these things that allow you to do maybe the first three and to crack open. Particularly, I've seen in the plant medicine community, there is a belief that it's the medicine doing the work for you. And if I just go and do another journey, I'll go to some ayahuasca, I'll go over here and do some psilocybin, and it's like the work's being done. But you have to step out into the world
100%.
And have that difficult conversation, make the apology, do the work to unwind these patterns. My hands up moment was that honest conversation with my therapist, where I really laid it out for him what had been going on. Similar conversation before that with my wife. I actually had to read. I had to read the script. It wasn't something that I could do, like hands shaking. You're reading the script of what's been going on. And I think that's the the difficult piece is to do all of those things privately, but then to step out of your identity that you've painted out into the world and really step out of from behind the mask and let the chips fall where they fall.
Well, you've got to have the other thing as well is that there's an enormous amount of trust and faith involved here, right?
Yeah.
Because I leave rehab and they go, abstinence. And I said, I just want to stop cocaine. They said, no. Like, if you want to do this program properly, and I like doing things properly. When they said abstinence, I thought to myself, my first concern, worry was, how do I live in a life where I can't have a alcoholic drink? I want to knock the cocaine on the head, so I accept that.
Yeah.
But I've been modelled, conditioned, influenced by every birthday party, every Easter, every Christmas, every New Year, every rugby event. I will have a drink, right? So we go back to that business about action is, to what lengths are you prepared to go to get your goal? And obviously for me was that I had to be brave, I had to be courageous, I had to change. Someone said to me, you just got to change one thing. And I said, what's that? And they said, everything. You just got to change one thing, everything.
Yeah.
So in the first year, I didn't go to any sporting events, I didn't go to any concerts, I didn't go whatever. But I had the GOD, the gift of desperation. But yeah, going back to your point, the change is not easy. The change you had to go through to where you are today, not easy. Same with me. But if the power of what you're getting away from, if that's that powerful that you need to get away from it, you need to move in another direction, you'll be motivated to go in that other direction. And then what I've learned is each year has gotten easier for me. I've grown each year. I continue to grow as a human being now, and I practice spiritual principles on a daily basis. So I try to be truthful, honest, genuine, authentic, caring, compassionate. And sometimes I'm not, and I just think, well, I just try to do the best I can.
I think as people are going through this, let's say people take that first step out of this isolation, they're going to encounter some of the most powerful avoidant sensations that they'll ever have encountered. Is it worth it?
Avoidant sensations, what do you mean?
So there is going to be everything in your body is going to tell you to stop and not do this.
Yeah.
Right? Not face this.
Yeah.
Not, there'll be a point. There'll be some stuff that you'll get those first few steps where it's like, see, that wasn't so bad. The closer and closer you get to the core of what this is, the more you're going to want to not do it.
Yeah.
Has it been worth it to you to go through that? That's the message I want people to understand. You are going to have everything screaming not to do it, and they need to know that there's a payoff at the end. What have been the benefits, and was it worth it to you?
Oh, look, my physical, mental, and spiritual health has turned around a 180. I mean, I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't care if I lived or died. I just got to a point where I just thought, I'm going to die a drug addict. I'd accepted it. I'm going to die a drug addict. I had two beautiful young children. They're now 16 and 13. So for the best part of the last 10 years, they've seen me being present and available. So it gets challenging. Like the first year, certainly in recovery, it's difficult because we're creatures of habit. Going to the game, I'm going to have a beer. I'm going out for dinner. I'm going to have a glass of wine. And their head's going, oh, you're okay now, you're 6 months clean sober, if you go back and do cocaine now, you'll be fine. All that stuff's going on. I had the tools and skills to process it and go, that thought is not a good thought. That's faulty wiring. It was horrendous. I had to remember how bad it was. But my life now, it's hard to comprehend how far I've come, where I was at the bottom of the barrel. So 140 pound, physically and mentally and spiritually broken, not present, not available, to now a healthy 100 pounds, spending my life in a worthy cause, present and available for my children. Just had a beautiful weekend away at a spa with my girlfriend. I work from home. I'm talking to you. I'm spreading my message across the world. I've just had two hours with 2 clients. Got 3 clients this afternoon. And those 2 clients, I just got up, their lives have changed in 8 weeks. Like, they've still got work to do, don't worry, but they are seeing, they're getting woken up and going, you know, one of my clients said, on Sunday I woke up Sunday morning, I was clear-minded, I took my daughter swimming, took my son to football in the afternoon, and, you know, and I am playing a small part in their lives, you know, getting them back on, and it's so fulfilling. It's so fulfilling. Is it worth it? Absolutely it's worth it.
Yeah.
100%. The day I walked into that rehab, I was absolutely broken, but the reality is that was in April 2016. I thought I was opening a door to a rehab. In reality, I was opening a door to the rest of my life if I wanted to engage. And I did, and I've got the benefits of it, and I am unbelievably grateful. 1, that I didn't die, and 2, I'm very grateful for the person that I am today.
Yeah.
Still got challenges, like all of us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The world's a very uncertain place these days. So, but I've got the tools and skills to deal with it today. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all of this, because I'll echo that from my point of view. You know, it's so hard, and there's so many things I didn't want to get into, and I'm so grateful that I did, because just living every day with that sensation of fear, shame, uncertainty, and not having to live with that is just, it's such a relief. And really getting to feel a range of emotions, right? We're all chasing joy and happiness and rainbows and all this stuff. But what I'd found is I'd narrowed into a bandwidth where I was so hyper-regulated. I wasn't really feeling anything. It was just this deep depression. You said, I didn't want to kill myself, but I didn't care. That's the hallmark right there. You don't care, right? And I think it's almost worse. You know, it's this defeat. And so I appreciate so much you sharing this, because it's so important that people do this and get through for the people who love you, but for yourself.
100%.
You can have such a rich experience of this life, and it's so worth it on the other side of this pain.
Yeah. You know, if I could get hold of Kent 20 years ago and say to him, put your bloody hand up, reach out, let's have a call, let's have one phone call at least and see where you're at. And that's why I do it.
What's the best way for people to contact you?
Yeah, just through the website. My website is Kent Bray Counselling and Mentoring. My big thing is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is where I get probably 80-90% of my clients. And I am on Instagram, I am on TikTok and Facebook, but LinkedIn. But Google Kent Bray Counselling, my website will come up, and then there's a phone number and an email there. Most people just email me and we go from there. I'm quite a unique counsellor in the sense that I'm pretty laid back. I like to invite humour into the sessions. I don't like it to be clinical and sterile. My website's probably the best way to get to me, yeah.
And Kent, we finish every show with 3 takeaways for that person that you were just speaking to. What are the 3 takeaways that person should do today to start this journey?
Okay. The first one is to pick up the phone and speak to someone and be honest. The other thing is speak to family. Sometimes they're the last people you want to go to. And the reason I say that is that you'll be very surprised, well, I was, that rather than thinking that I might be viewed negatively, all I got back was love and support and compassion. No one's judged me at all, actually. I haven't had one person judge me, or not that I'm aware of. The last thing is, and the most important thing is, like, have a go. What lengths will you go to? Give it a go. Don't be half-assed about it. If nothing changes. But doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity. No, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, knowing exactly what the result's going to be. Yeah. You know, that's the definition of insanity. I do cocaine and go, I don't want to do this because I don't want to feel like shit. I'll do cocaine and feel like shit. Wow, really? That's a surprise.
Yeah, sure.
So yes, pick up the phone, speak to people, but be absolutely unequivocally, unconditionally honest and truthful. Give it your best shot.
Well, Ken, that's certainly what you've done for us today. I really appreciate your openness and vulnerability here. And my hope is that it does give somebody who's struggling permission to do the same and to reach out and connect with you. Because that's the reason we started this podcast, is to give some of this away. Everyone can't work with us. So we wanted to share as much of my network, my resources as we can with the community. So thank you again, mate.
Yeah, and thank you, Jeremy. Mate, keep doing what you're doing. Making a difference. Good man. Great stuff.
You too, mate. You too.
Top man.
What a powerful conversation with Kent Bray. Here are the 3 key things that you can take away from today's episode. Number 1, if you're struggling, pick up the phone and speak to someone with complete honesty. The biggest mistake Kent made was not asking for help earlier. The first step towards liberation is breaking the isolation with one truthful conversation. Number 2, reach out to family and friends, even if they're the last people you want to tell. Kent was surprised to receive only love, support, and compassion. Number 3, commit fully to the process and give it your best shot. Don't be half-hearted about recovery or change, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the show is to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave a rating or a review, send this episode to somebody that you think would benefit from hearing the message. It makes a real difference in helping us reach more people who could benefit from these conversations. You can also stay connected with us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Vitality Collective Performance, where we share additional insights, behind-the-scenes content, and updates on upcoming episodes. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.